Hey friendly people, now that I'm a father, I've been thinking a lot about legacy, and I want to ask you, what legacy will you leave on this world? You know, I once heard that you can measure the quality of a person's life by the number of people that show up to their funeral. And I guess it makes sense because my mother didn't even show up to her own father's funeral because he was an abusive piece of shit to their whole family growing up. And this didn't really click with me until about 5 years ago, where I had to attend a funeral of someone very close to me who died unexpectedly in his 50s due to cancer. And I remember sitting down and just watching people pour in, and then some more, and then some more. The place was packed, not only with his friends and loved ones, but neighbors, random firefighters, restaurant owners that he went to, current colleagues, people that worked with him 30 years ago that he barely even interacted with. It felt like every single person who had ever talked to this guy showed up. Maybe about 300 people came to this funeral, and they spoke for about 3 hours, so much so that they had to cut it short because everybody just had incredible words to say about him. Now on the surface, this isn't that surprising. He was a very prestigious doctor in the area, he had a beautiful big house, and he was very successful. What was surprising was that the people that went up and bawled their eyes out and poured their hearts out talked about none of that. They didn't talk about his prestige or his status or his huge house and nice cars. They talked about the impact that he left on them. They talked about how generous he was, how good of a listener he could be, how he trained somebody and went the extra mile staying after to make sure that they succeeded in their job, how he showed up for other people during their hardest moments, the barbecues he would host that would bring tons of new people together, the moments where he would just make people endlessly laugh, how he'd let somebody crash when they had nowhere else to stay, or how he may have introduced somebody to somebody else that dramatically changed their life. And it's ironic because most of us live our lives the exact opposite way. I know I did for a very long time. We work so hard at getting people to like us by trying to impress them or show off. We try to look flashy, whether that's through our clothes or our possessions. We post our highlights of our travels and best moments on social media. We obsess about dating a beautiful person even if they're not right for us, just so we can walk around with them on our arms and show off to our friends. And yeah, you'll capture some people's attention for a little while, but you will never gain their long-term affection this way. Because again, most people don't really give that much about what you do with your life. They care about what you do for theirs. Now, of course, there will be some people that inevitably take advantage of your generosity, but that's a blessing in disguise because you'll recognize that soon enough and you can screen those people out of your life because the right people will recognize that you are caring for them and investing in them and reciprocate accordingly. About 10 years ago, I hired a freelancer to work on one of my sites. Coincidentally, a few months later, I ended up getting a client that was a CTO of a software consultancy. He told me that they were struggling to fill a position that he had done about 50 interviews for. I told him that I had hired a freelancer who I thought would be a good fit, and he immediately said, "Hey, listen, I'm happy to give him an interview, but I can't guarantee anything." 4 interviews later, that freelancer I hired moved all the way from Florida up to Boston, has now expanded his entire career and moved through a bunch of companies, and guess what? He's one of my closest friends. And obviously he got that job in large part because of his skill, but also that introduction helped, and he has been grateful ever since. That entirely changed the course of his life, and I know because of that we're gonna remain best friends for the rest of our lives. So if you want to leave a real lasting impression on people and have them love you deeply and be by your side to the very end, then do what President JFK would say and ask not what your people can do for you, ask what you can do for your people. And if you're struggling to even find the motivation to get out and be with friends, then check out the video here by Julian where he covers the reasons why you might be feeling so lonely and bored.